Yo everybody, it's me, Spooner Sloth, and today I am making a YouTube video to talk to you about No Man's Sky. Typically, people on my stream, which you can catch at twitch.tv/SpoonerSloth, will ask me, Spoon, why do you talk about No Man's Sky so goddamn much? What is No Man's Sky? Why are you so excited for it? Why are you going to stream the hell out of it? What do you do in this game? And I always kind of like blow off the question a little bit. I say, man, I have a solution, I have an answer, I will tell you all about it, but not right now, because No Man's Sky is just kind of a complicated thing to describe. So, that being said, people need a comparative analysis of the game to weigh its value and help decide to buy or not. It's the year 2016. In this day and age, you don't typically just buy a game, you invest in a game because there's always DLC or online content or other people or a community and all the other bells and whistles. Problem is, No Man's Sky is unique and unlike anything else before. So, a lot of folks will think, well, if game A is like game B and I enjoy game B, then I should probably buy game A. Let's try to talk about what No Man's Sky is and is not. First off, it's science fiction, procedurally generated, universe-scaled, open sandbox game with a focus on exploration and pioneerism and high player agency with massive elements of freedom. What? What I'm trying to say is, the game is a universe simulator, essentially. Think Fallout 4 or GTA 5. If the area you can play in is as big as the universe with planets and star systems and all that business, then the scale is really hard for a lot of people to understand. Some people simply are just uncomfortable with that idea. The game does not hold your hand. I'm going to say that a couple times, by the way, throughout this entire video. You really will be just one person in an entire goddamn universe with the freedom to do as you please. Now, many of you here watching, either through YouTube subs, Twitch followers, maybe just found me on a search or maybe it's, suggested content. You guys know me from my stream. You guys know me from Fallout 4. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that as a kind of really light comparison engine so things kind of make more sense and I don't go insane. Think about a game like GTA or Fallout 4 without the main story quest. There is no main story quest in No Man's Sky. You can do pretty much whatever you like within the confines of the game's features. There is a goal. If you want to quote-unquote win the game, you got to get to the center of the universe. But you don't have to if you don't want to. The game frees your imagination. It's almost like Play-Doh or clay or wet sand at the beach on a summer holiday. All the tools are there for you. Just go play. Now, thematically, the game developers at Hello Games want to capture something I personally am very passionate about, classic sci-fi. We're talking aesthetics like Dune, Ender's Game, 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's going to show you something of the loneliness of space, the mystery, the wonderment and intensity of being a frontiersman, explorer, adventurer, space pirate, the first living soul to step foot on some place. You are charting the uncharted. There's amazing levels of world building and lore in No Man's Sky. The different races of aliens, the sentinels, the ecology, geology of planets, the tech involved, astrophysics, etc., etc. But there's no narrative. You, the player, will make the narrative. You set goals, you set the pace. This is the first game of its kind where the player actually has complete and utter control over what they do and where they go. This is not your Dragon Age Inquisitions. This is not your Witchers. This is nothing linear. This is nothing that says, oh, you have a choice, but in reality you kind of don't because you're still going to follow the story that the writers put forth. Now, enough about that stuff. Let's talk about gameplay. For the sake of my sanity, I'm going to break down gameplay into four main parts. The actual what you can do in the game part of this video. And if I talk fast, pause, rewind, try again. I just don't want this to be like an hour and a half long video because I don't got time for that shit. You don't got time to watch that crap. So, you explore, you fight, you trade, and you survive. These are the four main pillars of gameplay in No Man's Sky. You have yourself as a player, you got your suit, you have a spaceship, you have a gun, or a multi-tool. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, as I mentioned before, this game is unlike anything else I've ever seen, and I've been around since '83. But it does have parts of pretty much every game out there today. It's got combat and shooting like an FPS. It has crafting and building like a world builder, Minecraft, all that crap. It's got trading. It's got exploring and researching like an MMO or like any other kind of RPG. It's got survival elements. It's not like DayZ or Arma or any other stuff, but at the same time, it kind of is. The game is multiplayer, but you cannot communicate with players in a traditional sense. There's no lobby, there's no party chat, there's no friends list, there's no message board, there's no voice over IP, no emotes, nothing. You can run into another living player, but with roughly 18 quintillion planets in the game, in a universe-sized universe with planet-sized planets, the odds are so fucking low that for the most part, don't expect to ever find another player. Treat it like a single-player experience. It will happen, of course. I mean, hell, I guarantee it. Just don't expect to play it with your friends, more like alongside your friends. You're comparing experiences, you're sharing war stories, that kind of thing. And know that what you experienced will be a singularly unique thing to you, and yet similar to what they are seeing as well. Now, enough waxing poetic about philosophy. Let's talk about combat. Your weapons are called multi-tools. Well, they're called weapons, but for the most part, you have your multi-tool. You don't really have an M16 or a laser cannon or all that stuff that you kind of equip and switch around to. The multi-tool has different functions. Mining lasers, scanners, pulse rifles, etc., etc. You got explosives, heavy weapons as well. You can find or craft them. Rapid fire lasers, heavy beams, etc., etc. Everything's got a different use. Some for stripping away shields, some for dealing heavy damage to heavy armored enemies, simply blowing up holes in the ground for excavation. Your ship also has weapons, obviously. Your spaceship. Some types of weapons have ammo, some don't. Things are still somewhat murky on this point. The developers haven't told us everything there is to do and see in the game because, frankly, they don't know everything there is to see and do in the game yet. I guess you can use them to be a space asshole, right? That's what I was trying to get at. But for the most part, you want to use them to defend yourself from hostile life. Animals on the planet might be predators that will try to eat you or drive you off their territory if you happen to trespass. Hostile aliens from warlike races or aliens you simply pissed off because you walked into their home or broke their pottery looking for rupees. Space pirates and reavers trying to blow up your ship and steal your supplies and cargo. And then there's sentinels. There's enough out there in the universe that wants to kill you. You can be the aggressor or you can be peaceful. You can try to make an entire species extinct or not. You can kill a creature to save your life. You can run away from it. You can fire a few shots in the air to scare it off. If you meet a new alien and open fire right away, or you can just try to talk to them. You can trade. Then you'd have a new ally, or maybe just betray them later. You can be a pirate. You can shoot up a convoy of traders in space. You can choose to defend the traders and maybe get rewarded, or you can join the pirates or cloak yourself and kind of watch the fight play out and then swoop in like a vulture and loot all you can from whoever lost the fight and then get the fuck out of there before they call the sentinels on you. Speaking of the sentinels, they're kind of like the space police. They are self-replicating, endless, fearless robots. They have one single purpose. They only care about upholding something called the Prime Directive, which is don't interfere. They cannot be reasoned with. There is no pay the fine and you're good. There's no bribing. There's no dialogue. There's no charisma check. You get the sentinels on your ass and you better run, kill them all, or hide. Killing them all is typically impossible because, they never stop coming at you and then your wanted level or your stars keep getting higher and higher and higher. They will almost always outgun you and will definitely always outnumber you. You're going to find them everywhere in the universe, but some planets will have more than others. Some will have none. Some planets might actually be like, a giant factorum where the sentinels are made and come from, or at least that group of them, in that sector kind of come from. And, just don't fucking go there or don't break the law while you're there. Like I said, they do operate on a wanted star system, kind of like in Grand Theft Auto. 1 star, you get bothered by some drones, relatively weak, but the more you resist or otherwise dick around, the more is going to show up, and you got to swarm of them. Now, 2 stars, you get these 2-legged ATSD walker-type mechs that are going to shoot you up. Then you got 4-legged massive walkers. Then they start working together as squads using tactics to pretty much lock you down with heavy weapons. We don't know exactly how bad it can get. The devs haven't shown us yet. And for good reason, I imagine that's something I'd love to experience firsthand. They're drawn to acts that break the Prime Directive. So if you start going apeshit, killing tons of animals for no reason, blowing up massive chunks of the planet with reckless mining, things like that. Just being a complete space asshole is going to get the popo sent after you. And like I mentioned, of course, they're also in space. You got, Sentinel interceptors, small spaceships, bigger spaceships, capital class, massive megaships, armadas. They'll send, fucking planet-sized Death Star-looking shits after you. It can get really, really cool. Now, good news is, they are set up to know the difference between self-defense and aggression. So they're not going to come after you for killing an attacking enemy, creature, alien, or ship. If they fire first at you, you can defend yourself. The Sentinels won't mess around. We know that No Man's Sky is completely procedural, but the Sentinels are something of a universal constant. You will get better at combat, obviously, by upgrading your weapons, armor, and ship. So upgrades are made by finding and learning blueprints. You get them from exploring. You find them around the universe in the wilds, on resource caches, in caves, wherever the hell you can find them, really. You get them from missions or quests, which are rewarded to you, given, by alien races. You can buy them from traders at space stations or outposts. You can loot them off dead aliens if you kind of want to just run into some dude's house and blow his head off. You treat these like crafting recipes. They're stored in your codex. Once you learn it, you still need the materials to actually make the thing. Making money to buy things as well is possible if you go into a heavy combat role. It's too damn hard to do just one single thing in the game. It's by design. You're going to want to do everything. You're going to want to do some exploring, some trading, some combat, and obviously some survival stuff. But let's say you're going to be combat focused, okay? you can make cash by doing this. Killing animals in the wild will give you nothing. They don't really drop any loot that we know of, but sentinels will come at you. Sentinels do drop loot and materials and gear and things like that, and pretty rare materials that you can sell for cash. Hard part, however, is getting out alive after you loot it. Making friends with really militaristic aliens, doing bounties for them like Cowboy Bebop style, or doing raids or whatever is a good way to make cash. Think like a merc, Privateering, being a space pirate, or the reverse privateering, You can be a pirate, you can be an asshole in space, just start attacking and looting like a reaver, or attacking cargo ships and trade vessels and convoys and crap, selling what you nick. Or the opposite, you're going to run as a hired gun, you're going to be defense, you're going to go in and get paid to defend a convoy, that sort of thing. Now, we have been discussing combat, we cannot ignore death. So what happens when you die in this game? This is actually a pretty goddamn serious thing, because I thought it was pretty cool. If you're on the surface, on a planet, not in your ship, and you die, you will lose all the resources and loot that you were carrying. You will not lose your suit or your weapon or any of that stuff, but you will lose the things you were carrying in inventory, the materials you gathered or mined or whatnot. That's all gone. You're going to respawn by your ship or at the last place you saved if you visit an upload link. Basically, when you're on the ground, you're going to want to make regular trips back to your ship to unload loot and sell valuable things to conserve some space. Now, as far as the ship, you don't really want to store a lot of expensive stuff in your ship. Death is very different in space. Now, as of this video and recording, the one key detail that we know about dying in space is if your ship is destroyed, and obviously you inside of it, all the cargo is lost, but also the ship. That baby that you've been upgrading and working hard on, it's gone. Completely toast. Now, you'll respawn at the space station of that star system, and you're going to be given a basic standard run-of-the-mill ship, but you're kind of back to square one. You still have all your upgrades that you learned, the recipes, the blueprints, but you don't have the actual things anymore. And that's really, really bad. I mean, that's super demoralizing, depending on how many hours you put into the game. You can tell how long a ship has been around because it's going to have wear and tear, it's going to have rust, it's going to have scorch marks and bullet holes and all kinds of little tags and decals and things you put on it to kind of like all the signs of all the adventures you've been on, So enough about combat, let's go about trade. That's weird, So trade is something a lot of people are not very, I don't want to say comfortable with, but I want to say that they're not accustomed to it when it comes to these kinds of games. You're expected, I get to shoot a laser beam, what do I need trading and diplomacy for, right? But there's a lot of players that aren't really about shooting. They don't dig the violent, frenetic combat part of gaming. Let's say, hell, you want to roleplay, you want to be a freight runner, you want to be a merchant or a salvage expert, or you want to be a go-to sales guy. How do you do that? Well, you're going to focus on upgrading and getting the kind of ship that's like a trade ship. You're going to find alien races that are more about mercantilism and commerce, and you're going to get a ship that's big on storage and scanning and mining. You want to upgrade your scanner. It's one of the things on your multi-tool. Your multi-tool is a gun, it's a mining laser, it's a scanner, it's a lot of different things. You want to scan the environment or hell the entire planet, so that way on your HUD, on your UI, it'll show you all the different resources and points of interest and such. You can find rare resources, sell them. Make a lot more money. You can make cash. You can buy upgrades flat out instead of having to learn them and make them yourself. You got to go through the caves, the mountains, the forests, the oceans, the lakes, asteroids, everywhere and find everything. Remember though, planets in this game are as real as can be expected. Some might have things that others don't, and it does follow a certain common sense, a certain scientific logic. It's all determined by these standard factors. How close the planet is to the sun. How big is it? Is it frozen or scorching, desert or jungled? Is it oceans? Does it have life? Is it flat or hilly? Do they have caves? All that kind of shit. You got to mine the resources on these planets. You want to use a mining laser on your multi-tool or explosive weapons and such. You can use regular bullets, regular gun, regular lasers, but they're not going to yield as much back, and it's going to take much longer to make it work. So you'd rather just use, the specific tool for the specific job. Use your scanner to find these things, by the way. So like combat, upgraded weapons and shields, do more damage, absorb more damage. But as a trader, you want to upgrade your scanner, find things you couldn't before. You want to upgrade that mining laser to mine faster, more efficiently. Maybe the rock is too hard or made of a certain element that you can't dig through it and get the goodies inside. So you want to upgrade that laser, baby. You want to go hog. You want to get all that good stuff because you can sell it, make bank. There's an economy too. Common resource in one solar system might be super rare and extremely expensive in another, like water on a desert planet or plants on an ice planet, things like that. As you play an adventure, you're going to learn the types of environments yield and what kinds of resources they have, and then you can game the system and kind of make some serious cash. You can effectively start planning out and making your own trade routes. Or if you're lazy, like me, from the sloth, you can just opt to shadow some alien traders on their routes and see what they've got going on. Think like corporate espionage. You can spy. Just follow these guys. Hopefully your ship is good enough and strong enough to follow them on whatever path they're taking. Mine wherever the hell these guys are going off to, and then come back to your previous system and check the markets. This is a basic, economy 101 kind of stuff. The key thing to trading, of course, is dealing with aliens. That's another thing. Trading is more like diplomacy and trading. Aliens are their own unique thing, and man, it is super cool. Like how all animals in the game will make sense for the planet they live on, the conditions that would logically, kind of make them look and act a certain way, is also the same with aliens. Some races, right, might be scientific, they might be religious, they might be warmongering, they might be financial gurus, etc. But depending on how you play and your play style, what you like, they can be your allies, enemies, rivals. You show up and you start going ham on a planet, strip mining the fuck out of it. Some tree hugger race might dislike you. Some merchant race might be predisposed to like you, and want to work with you better. Maybe even a military race want to hire you to, to do supply runs for them. Aliens will always have something to offer you. They could be allies for combat later on. They'll come and help you because they recognize you. There are unique ships to each race, so it's like there's lots of different ships. You don't typically build them from scratch. You get them and you kind of alter them a little bit. They may have unique and cool blueprints that you want to learn, give you better, did I mention they give you like trade agreements, get better prices and things like that. You got to build a strong relationship with them. But here's the rub. You can't speak these alien languages. When you start a dialogue with an alien, you're going to be kind of confronted with almost like a dialogue wheel, like anything you'd see like in Mass Effect or even Fallout series or something. The replies that, the question that it's going to ask you, the prompt it's going to ask you is going to be half in alien language, maybe one word in English. And then your replies will be just all in English, and you got to guess what the fuck this dude asked. You can fumble around and try to hope that you pick the right thing to say. You can interact with them, to help learn words, right? You can just do that whole guessing thing, kind of figure it out organically. Or you can study and scan that race's alien ruins or monoliths or whatever that's going on there, and that might give you new words. It's key to have a good solid grip of how to talk to these alien races, because it could mean getting friendlies to help you out or gift you something, give you a nice new weapon, a tech, blueprint, or you can fuck up. They can call the Sentinels on you. They can become aggressive towards you, or they can kind of like screw you over and give you a bad deal. Moving on, let's talk about exploration. That's a big thing with this fucking game. Everybody's always talking about exploration. It's not a walking simulator, but you can win if you just want to be an explorer. Maybe you don't want to fight. Maybe you don't want to trade. Maybe you just want to play by yourself. The game is procedurally generated, but what the fuck does that mean? It does not mean that the game is random. Minecraft is fucking random, and for children. There's a seed for the world in Minecraft. You make everything, kind of just plops out randomly, but ultimately it all kind of looks the same. Not in No Man's Sky. There are rules. In a star system, if a planet ends up close to the sun, it's going to be hot. It's going to have certain weather. It's going to have certain resources, certain topography and geography and geology going on there, right? If it's too far from the sun, it'll be cold. It'll be frozen. It'll be like Hoth, Maybe it'll be too cold for life. Maybe there'll be frozen seas and there'll be like underwater life, like we think is in, Europa. If you're right in the middle, or Earth and Mars are for that most part, maybe it's going to have loads of life. Maybe it's going to have underwater alien races, things like that. Maybe it's going to have flying, cities and floating rocks, all kinds of crazy shit. We don't know. We just absolutely don't know. Planets will not have features, however, that don't make sense for the planet. The rules of the game dictate how the world works, and things are going to be cohesive. These planets will have ecosystems. There are predators, there are prey animals on a swamp of a water planet. They might have webbed feet so they can swim faster, escape from hunters. But to counter that, predators on that exact same planet, maybe really stealthy. They got dappled fur. They can sneak up on, on prey and catch them and catch you. Prey will travel in herds. Maybe some predators will travel in packs and hunt in packs. Maybe some will be lone hunters. You're going to see little tiny birds and shit on like space rhinos that it's all part of the food chain. Animal bodies will make sense as well. We're going to see a lot of crazy crap in hell. In some of the last trailers, we saw like a buff bug bear looking thing. We saw like plants that look like they're made out of a bunch of cobra heads. It's goddamn cool. But they are set up to take into account evolution and adaptation. Kind of how giraffes have long necks to reach leaves they eat, that sort of thing. Sloths, like myself, had those claws so they can hang and whatnot and be lazy. Where does the animal live? What does it eat? What eats it? Is it male or female? Does it need horns for mating rituals or any of that kind of shit? All these things take into effect how the animal looks and behaves. Now, all of this is important when talking about exploring, in particular because as a main playstyle, an explorer is a type that's all about making discoveries. You are the map makers, the front line, the frontiersmen. You are on the far edge of what is known. Explorer ships are designed to go really, really far and really, really fast, and they have really powerful scanning power. Now, scanning as an explorer is important and great because, when you scan an area, you set waypoints and you identify points of interest, and markers will pop up on your HUD and the UI to have points of interest. Ruins, resources, creatures, etc. You can try scanning a creature, but maybe you won't because it's too big or too advanced, or maybe, the signal is too weak for you to pick it up on your scanner. So you want a stronger scanner, you get better range. Now, wandering and writing up a map with no real direction is a great way to kind of get lost and have a bad time. A stronger scanner will find buildings, shelters, outposts, maybe even alien bases or alien homes, alien cities. We don't know yet. And it also gives you a definitive goal. You don't want to be caught out on the fringes when the sun goes down, but more on that in a bit. Explorers will also get insanely strong ships' engines with warp drives so they can go further away and reach distant stars and planets before anybody else typically can. You scan these creatures, plants, etc., and upload that data to the Atlas. The Atlas is a big info dump in the game. Every player will add to it that is playing. Adding to it gives you money. Adding really rare things gives you lots of money, and maybe even upgrades and blueprints and so forth. But remember, like we mentioned before, if you die on the surface, everything you have scanned, everything you have gained will be lost until you upload it to the Atlas or, as far as resources you store in your ship. If you are the first person to find a thing, you get to name it. You get to name the planet as well if you discover enough things on the planet. Survival. What the hell is that all about? The universe is dangerous. Being caught out in the forest when things get dark can mean certain death, right? Stronger predators come out at night. The temperature drops. It could get pitch black sometimes, depending on the weather or the atmosphere. You can get caught in acid rain or a blizzard or a sandstorm. You only have your suit, your multi-tool, and potentially a flashlight to kind of get through. And remember, the planet is spinning. It is rotating. You look up at the sky at the beginning of the day, you might see that space station, you might see the sun, you might see the moons and some other shit. You wander far away, you look up again, you may not see the same stars or the moon or that station. You may have lost your ship and gotten too far away from the beacon of it. You may have wandered into something that you don't really won't wander into. So you want to upgrade your gun and your tools and such. That's just a start, right? But you got to get your suit. Bitter cold, radioactive rain, solar flares, firestorms, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. You can live through these things, but without a good suit that's been upgraded, you're not going to last long. You can sprint, jump, swim. You can fly for a bit with a jetpack that you have to kind of build and kind of deal with, but you have to upgrade your suit to do all these things better. Now, you're going to want to learn blueprints for, light sources, beacons, hacking tools, traps, shelters, defense systems, things like that. That's just surface living. In space, different beast. Well, what about survival in space? It's not all combat. You don't want to run out of fuel someplace you don't want to be. You got 3 speeds in space: normal drive, jump drive, warp drive. Normal requires no fuel. Normal is kind of what we're seeing in a lot of these trailers. It's fast enough for a ship, but it's not too fast. You can't really, go from planet to planet, star to star with it. It's more for your basic stuff. It's going to have a boost feature, for combat, evasive maneuvers, things of that nature. Jump drive does cost fuel. It helps you move from planet to planet quickly, or crossing really long distances fast. You have to refuel, buy that fuel at stations, maybe even make your own if they have a blueprint for that. We don't know yet. Warp drive uses up cores and different kinds of fuel, which is rare and expensive as hell. Then you don't get to carry much of it. That lets you go from star system to star system, from one solar system to another solar system. Whole new set of planets, man. You can hyperspace, instantaneous travel, brand new playground. However, remember the theme of this game. Space is open. You could, realistically, just use your normal drive, point at a star anywhere you see, because that is a legit star, and go. It's going to take a forever long time to get there, and you're going to be kind of off course for a while because, everything's moving. But it is possible. And when I say a stupidly long time, I'm talking real man hours. I mean, you could keep the game running and keep moving, forward for 2 days, and you might even be 1/1,000,000th of the way to that star. However, if you do decide to kind of explore the space between stars, the void, there are things there. We don't know what it is, but the developers have, they have confirmed there's stuff there. Maybe satellites, maybe dark planets, black planets. Nobody knows. A couple of closing thoughts, about multiplayer. Very last thing I want to discuss is multiplayer. When you and another player, as completely nearly impossible as that would be for a while, are on the same planet, you're going to be placed in the same lobby or instance of the game. All that you do, the letters you carve into the ground, the jumping up and down, they can see it. Now, you can just be complete assholes and kill each other, but I have hope that after being alone for so long and knowing full well that the odds of you seeing another living human person are so extremely low, most people are just going to be happy as shit to know that they're not alone. There are also portals in the game. A portal is something like an ancient wormhole, kind of Stargate type deal. They're on planets. You go through these, it takes you and you alone to another world closer to the center of the galaxy. It's going to be much, much higher level than you and rough as shit, as we know that the closer to the center, the rough and tough, things get really, really weird and really alien and kind of serious when you get close to the center of the galaxy. Your ship is left behind on where you originated from. You have to unlock the portal to use it. So having certain gear, certain upgrades, passwords, or whatever, sometimes even certain weapons will let you activate the portal. We will learn more as we play, maybe even becoming really good friends with an alien. They will tell you how to work it. Obviously, hella dangerous on the other side, but we know we're closer to the center, closer to the endgame stuff, quote-unquote endgame stuff. The resources and blueprints will be much more valuable, much more rare, much more powerful than anything you have access to. Now, as mentioned before, the Atlas is kind of like your space Pokedex. It's going to have all the info, everything you've discovered. Galactic Map is going to show you all the places you have been, so it's not like you're constantly wandering, in the dark. It's going to give you some very basic idea of what's around you, what kind of like the next step is, if you so desire to take it. But remember, this is uncharted space. We are the ones writing the map. There is nobody to hold your hand or to tell you where to go. You decide where you want to go. But you make your own goals in No Man's Sky. You make your own story. And that's why I'm so hyped about this game. That's why I want to share it so badly with you guys on my stream. I want to share an experience, something that we can have together. It's not just my story or just your story. It's going to be our story. It's just something that I've been looking forward to for such a long time, and so many other people have as well. And I really, really hope that maybe it's not your cup of tea, but maybe you enjoy watching the show, watching somebody else go through this sort of thing. Maybe it'll light that spark of imagination in you, and you can pick it up and you can go enjoy it as well. And a lot of people have been asking me, well, how's that even going to freaking work, Spoon? It's all procedurally generated, so what does that mean? Again, it doesn't exist until you get there. Every single star, every planet, every rock, every creature, everything is just an X, a Y, and a Z value somewhere in a long-ass line of computer code. The moment that you, the player, comes up to it, it populates, and you're there. So if I'm standing on a surface and I look up and I see a star, if I point in that direction and keep going, I will reach that star. I will reach all the planets around that star. That is a real thing. It's not just art. It's not just a skybox. It's a real experience. And guys, I really, really want to share that with you. So if you stuck around this long, thank you. I've been recording much longer than I wanted to record. Damn it. I'm tired. Hope to see you on the stream, twitch.tv/SpoonerSloth. I am live every single day of the week except Saturdays, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. When my kids start school in the fall, that's going to change. I'm going to stream during the day and the night. So for what it's worth, thank you so very, very much, everybody. I hope to see you soon. Take it easy.